actually arriving. And my name's Scott. It's a great pleasure to have you on this safari with us. And take a look at this. We've got some lions just up ahead of us. They were found by another vehicle. And it looks like one of the Birmingham males. I'm not sure which one this is. Maybe you guys can give me a hand in terms of which one of the 4 males of this coalition he is. You can also see there's a lioness just in front of him. I'm guessing she's one of the Nkuhuma pride. And there's a few more dotted around this area. We'll spend some time having a look around once we've had some time to look at this beautiful boy. And how great is it to have lions back on Djuma? It's been quite some time that we've had any lions around, and this is a certainly beautiful, beautiful scene. All we need now is for Steve to find Tundi, and we will be in a very, very good position. And hopefully the Mara team will be up and running shortly. We are having some tech difficulties, so we're not going to be seeing them for the time being, but who knows what they may find to contribute to this morning's safari. James, you've mentioned finally a male lion, and I couldn't agree more. It's tricky with our property at the moment. We haven't had too many lions around, and it does kind of change as time goes along. Lions will spend time in certain areas more so than others, but it is an absolute lottery with where they decide to spend their time, and just through default they haven't decided to spend much time here in Djuma. It has been kind of a very useful situation for Tundi and a little cub. Okay, well, thank you, Kendra. You've narrowed down the opportunity or the options for who this male lion could be, either Mfuko or Kena. And there may actually be another big male around here. There was apparently tracks of another big male, and the other vehicle that did find these lions for us did mention that there is possibly another male in this area. They didn't move too far, at least the lioness. They probably only moved a mile from where they were last seen with James yesterday evening. Morning to Mikey. You'd like to know, how long do lions live for? Well, like most things in nature, there's no set rules, but on average, kind of 12 to 15 years would be your average lifespan for a lion out in the wilds of Africa. The males tend to not live as long as the females. They live quite a rough life in terms of fights with other males, and once they kind of lose dominance, they can get bullied by other males. So you'll tend to find the lioness possibly live a little bit longer than the males do. But right now, this male is in his prime, so he's going to be around for at least a couple more years before any other coalitions come through and start giving them a hard time. On average, their reign will be for about 3 or 4 years as dominance, if they are part of a successful coalition like he is. But even this guy has already lost one of his coalition partners. We used to call him Tokolosh, and he was very easy to distinguish from the others. Did we call him Tokolosh or did we call him Scrapper? I think we used to call him Scrapper, but possibly Tokolosh as well. I think he had a couple of names, both Scrapper and Tokolosh, and he died when he was about 6 years old. I'm not too sure what was the cause of his death, but a good example of how it can vary from one animal to the next, depending on luck. Chris, you'd like to know if this male lion has any war wounds. Let's take a closer look at his snout. That's often where they get lots of their scratches, and as Dave zooms in, you'll notice he does have a few nicks and scars there, but he is looking in great condition, so no serious injuries that I can see, and I've spent very little time with these males since I've been back in the area. When I left Djuma, they weren't looking nearly as impressive as they are now. There you can see a few scratches on his nose. That's usually the receiving end of flaying paws and sharp claws. Okay, well, thank you very much to Kirsty and Louise, two of our lion experts here on the Safari Live crew, and they can confirm that this is Nana. So thank you for your assistance there. What a beautiful specimen. It's incredible to see, like I said a little bit earlier, how much they've developed since I was last year. When they came into the area and kind of started gaining dominance, they actually weren't nearly as impressive as they are now. They were kind of coming into their own, but because there were 5 of them, I guess they could chase off the older, more established coalition with a little bit of ease. We didn't see too many fights between them and the older coalition that used to reign dominant here, but there certainly would have been quite a few scraps between them. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, usually, I mean, there's no set rules, but usually a kind of coalition of lions will reign dominant for about 3 or 4 years before being overthrown, and that means that it's only every 3 or 4 years that you have the fortune of actually being able to witness an overthrow and those interesting interactions. So I'm guessing in another year or so, these guys might start getting some heat from another coalition that may come into this area. Wonderful. Let's take a short drive around and see if we can work out where the rest of the pride is. Morning, Bernie. Thanks very much. Thank you for your... Lions were hunting hippo. They are just chilling out at the moment. This individual's clearly doing some grooming, and the pride seems quite sleepy and content in the shade. I've counted 7 individuals in front of us, all, as you can see, just snoozing, taking it easy. And now I can actually see a couple more, actually. There's a few more off to the right, but it is quite thick. There's a lot of tambuti trees in this area. And that small little cub that's got a bit of a cough at the moment is also kind of somewhere in this tangle of tambuti trees. And interestingly, I mean, I wonder why that one lioness is lying off alone with the male, the one that we saw initially. Maybe she's coming into season. They definitely haven't been mating yet this morning, but it is quite interesting that most of the pride... Oh, some movement. Very good. Now, it looks like they actually could have had a snack last night. That individual's belly looks quite content, and I wonder what it is they managed to pull. So I wonder what they managed to snack on, because for one of the sub-adults like that, surveillance on them so we could know what they get up to while we're away. Obviously, that's not very easy. Molly, you'd like to know how the little cub with a bit of a cough is doing. And, I mean, I had a brief glimpse of it moving along earlier, and it seemed absolutely okay. Well, you know, considering that it's not well, it didn't seem like it was any worse than when I first saw it. And if anything, it seems to be in a better state than when I first laid eyes on it about 3 or 4 days ago, when the pride had, or at least 2 of the lioness had fragmented from the rest of the pride and they were snacking on the zebra. That little cub did not look good, but after a decent meal there, it seems to be on the mend. So let's hope that it does make it through. But it certainly does need to improve in terms of its condition, because it's not in the best state at the moment. Oh, there we can see a reddish tinge on this one's neck. What did you have for dinner last night? I wonder. There's not many buffalo around, so it's unlikely that they would have snacked on a buffalo, and had they have caught a buffalo and been able to finish the whole carcass, even with this many lions, and I believe there was 12 counted yesterday, it would be quite a feat. Well, that would be wonderful if Ralph stumbled upon the Paradise Pride. I wish him luck on his endeavors. Not too much has changed here. There was a couple of crested francolin that were kind of walking straight towards the lions at quite a speed, and I was hoping something was going to happen, but they spotted them a few meters off and changed direction. I was hoping that was going to get some of these youngsters up and active. Mrs. Mince, you would like to know if lions purr. Well, I've never heard them purring, so not that I know of. But they definitely do let off low grumblings when they are content, when other Pride members are kind of possibly grooming them, etc. But I think, considering how you can hear a domestic cat purr from, a fair distance away, if one of these guys got going, we would definitely be able to hear it. At least I would assume so. One of them sneezed, and this individual put her head up to just kind of monitor the situation, but you can see she's now relaxing back down again. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is possibly heading back to the initial two that we saw to see if there's any romance there. Now, Kathy, you'd like to know if any of these kind of sub-adults have started hunting with the adults in the Pride, and not that I've seen, we haven't seen much of this Pride of Lions. Oh no. I can hear some kind of a growling. And I'm wondering if it isn't that other pair that could have just mated. I'm guessing that is the case. We're going to send you across to Steve quickly. We don't have much signal here, so we're going to reposition and call you back once we do have some stable signal with the other pair.
Thank you very much, Ralph. One big animal indeed. We have managed to find the Nkuhumas and one of the Birmingham boys. This is the first chance I've had to see one of them, and he looks from behind like he is in magnificent condition. We had a look at his face on our way in, but it wasn't a very good position to be filming in. But yeah, from the back he looks quite impressive. But as Nix was saying in my ear, it looks like he's got a bit of receding hairline. But from the front he looked very impressive. And I believe I heard they've said there was a mating pair happening here. So I suppose it's these two here. And when there is mating happening, there's always a lot of sleep involved. They will get up, she will instigate it by standing up and walking past him and doing a bit of a swish of the tail, and he immediately stands up and follows her. But as soon as she lies down and the mating is finished, he lies down and catches up on his sleep. We've spoken before about the drivers in animals, and the mating drive and the sleep drive are working hand in hand for a mating pair. And there we have an individual who is cooling off. Nito, 10 years old, welcome to the show. He asks, will the lions go hunting when they wake up? Well, they are quite far from where they were last night, from where James had them, and a couple of them are looking like there's been some food in their belly. I wouldn't say it's anything massive, but I think they have eaten. But it is getting warm, Nito. The temperatures are starting to rise, and the way lions will behave is if they are active, it's when it's cool, generally at night time. And so I don't think they're going to go anywhere. If they do go anywhere, it'll be to walk to Buffelshoek Dam, which is only about probably 80 yards sort of to the right of us here. And they might go to drink, but that's about it. See that? Look at that youngster there. It's got quite a full belly. Stephanie, they are And I'm trying to count now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Stephanie, the number in this pride is 12. And I can count at the moment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can only see 7, 8 of them at the moment. 9, including the little youngster that's suckling. The little youngster that was looking quite skinny the other day after having a meal of zebra with mum and amber eyes. It's looking a little bit better. The hips, when it moved just now, weren't showing as much. But there you can see even mum's tummy there. Is it not full, but there's definitely been some food in the night. Maybe it was something small. Maybe they snacked on a couple of impala. It's really hard to say. I know I spent a lot of time with the trackers at Singita when I was doing my training, and we'd go out every morning and we'd track the then famous mountain pride. There was 24 individuals in the pride, and we'd go to where we picked up their tracks and we'd follow them, and it was unbelievable how many animals they could kill in the evening and still move a very long distance. So often these animals are just found, and then you don't actually know the story of what they've done in the evening. But if you get on the tracks of them from where you left them last night until this morning, sometimes you can be quite amazed at how busy these animals can be. I once went and spent an entire evening from 7 in the evening until 7 in the morning with that pride, and they killed 6 animals in front of me. It was quite amazing to see. But we are going to keep our eyes on these lions and see if anything of interest comes up. But while we do so, we're going to be popping back over to Ralph with his hippo. Obviously, the hippo doesn't need its ears very well or very much. The lions need them very, 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 very important for everything that they do. So not too much has happened here, folks. Nick wants to know if all the lions breed at the same time. That's a very good question, because what actually happens in prides, there you have what looks like a young male coming through, but what happens in prides is that the females, and in this pride there are 5 of them, will generally synchronize their breeding. So they'll come into sort of estrus at the same time, and then 1, 2, 3 males, whatever it is, will then go and service those ladies, and the mating will happen. But the success of the breeding is very, very slim, very small chance. So they reckon it takes about 3,000 copulations to get the individuals pregnant, which is a huge amount. But lions will mate over the course of about 4 to 5 days, constantly, every 15 minutes. It starts off in the beginning every 7 or so minutes, and then as they get a bit tireder, it sort of spaces out a bit more. But it's pretty close to about 15 minutes on average. And we've been here for that amount of time, and there's been absolutely no action between Nena here, I believe it's Nena, one of the Birmingham boys, the little equal sign on the nose, and Amber Eyes. Nothing has happened between the two of them. One of the young males, which is lying down in that throng of cats on the left, actually came walking towards this big male lion and crouched a bit low, almost playfully, and Nena didn't take it very well. He stood up and he gave him a big growl, and a whole lot of body language was exchanged between the two of them, and all of these lions moved back about 2 or 3 feet. It was a bit of action, and then he decided to scent mark, scraping his legs together on the ground, and then urinated. And then what did he do, folks? Yes, because lions are so hygienic, he then lay down right on his urine. Isn't that fantastic? I think someone was mentioning earlier that leopards are a little bit more intelligent than lions. I do agree. I think leopards are more intelligent than lions. Paulie asks if male lions get hot in the sun with their manes. Most certainly. It's like wearing a big cardigan or scarf around your neck. But there are important reasons for it. I mean, obviously all the lions are sitting in the shade now, and that's what you do when you're hot, you sit in the shade. But there are important reasons for the mane, and the development of the mane is very, very important for how a male lion interacts in society. And the darkness of the mane, the thickness of the mane is all genetic. and you can see how dark it is there. For example, if all the guys out there would know, when you go out and maybe you're feeling a bit frisky, and you're going out there and you maybe want to cause some trouble, you walk into a bar and you see a big, hairy, biker-like individual with lots of a big beard and whatever, and tattoos, you generally avoid him. You're not going to walk up and cause any trouble with him, because you know just by looking at him that he's intimidating. Whereas if there's a skinny guy in the corner and with no beard and no big facial hair, he just looks a little bit more easier to challenge than a big male. So what these males, the purpose of the main from happy hippos to happy lions indeed, ladies and gentlemen. This beautiful male lion stood up, got very interested in what I think is Amber Eyes, gave her a sniff and a lick, and she is not at all playing the game. He then went through a little bit of a body posturing before collapsing, defeated, back on the floor. Shame. I think she's definitely in estrus. He's very interested. She's giving off all the right cues, but she's not in the right mood. It was quite funny to see. There she is, Amber Eyes. Everyone's favourite. Enormous lioness. She really is a big cat. I mean, just compared to him, you can see she's not far off his size. And for a lioness, that is phenomenally big. Top Knot asks a very interesting question. Do female lions change prides? No, they don't. They stay in what we call their natal pride from birth. So any cubs that are formed in the pride will stay there if they are female. If they're male, they get chased away. I have seen large prides splitting in two, though, to form a new pride. That's purely to do with just the pride being too successful and getting too big and then splitting off. But there's still relations between them. But they'll probably find another territory and just change what they do. But that's purely to do with food resource and numbers. So when prides get above 25, 30, it starts becoming very difficult to secure any food. And they'll just start splintering off. You'll find sisters, maybe more closely related individuals splitting off from the others, and then them having youngsters, and then there we go, you have a pride starting all over again. But they won't go join other females. That doesn't happen. They will basically still stay with the sisters that they've